Hello again, thank you for joining me. This week we're going to talk about puppies. I've got two very greedy little puppies on the table here at the moment. They're just having their lunch. When you go and choose a dog, it's not necessary to spend lots and lots of money buying a very expensive pedigree dog. When I was young, my very best friend in the whole world was a dog named Roy, and he was a mongrel dog. We had years and years of happy times together playing lots of games. When you buy your dog, it's very important that you go to the post office and you buy a dog licence. This is a thing that you must have to obey the law. So don't forget, as soon as you get the dog licence. Now there are lots of different kinds of dogs. You can see here there are two very, very different kinds. So make sure that when you buy one, you're prepared to do all the things that are necessary to keep it in very good health. This one will need grooming every single day. And especially in the winter weather when it's really awful and wet outside, it's going to take a lot of bathing. Fleas can affect your dog, and especially dogs with big thick coats like this. So there are lots of things you can do to stop the fleas, but I find this is one of the very best. This is a brush with flea powder attached in a little plastic bottle. And what you do is you get your dog used to being brushed regularly, and then when you use this special brush with the flea powder, he doesn't even notice. Some dogs have special curly coats. They're a bit like sheep, and they need special clipping. You can take them to a poodle parlour and have them clipped in a special way. If you bathe your dog regularly, it's important to make sure he's quite dry before you let him go out again, especially when it's cold. When you're choosing a dog, you've got to decide whether you want a male or a female. And if it's a mongrel dog and you're not going to breed, then it's best if it's a female to take it to the vet and have a special operation so that she can't have puppies, and then you won't have lots of trouble when she gets older. A dog shouldn't leave its mum before the age of about 6 to 8 weeks. 6 is very, very young, really 8 weeks is the soonest. And up until the age of 12 weeks, it has protection from most diseases from drinking its mother's milk. But when it's 12 weeks old, you should take it to your vet. Apart from the fact that you want him to check him over and make sure that he's quite healthy, he needs special vaccinations. Now these are injections which you give your dog, and they stop him from getting very dangerous diseases which could kill him. 12 weeks is the time to give the injections, and some of them you need to go back every year to have a special booster injection to make sure that it's still working. Now when you take your dog out, you'll have to put him on a lead, and you need a collar. There are lots and lots of different kinds of collars, and some suit different kinds of dogs. I've got two here. One's the kind that just slips in and out, and that's a good one if you can take him out for a walk and train him. And there's another one, an ordinary collar here attached to a lead. Now I've got a very, very interesting lead here. This looks not like a lead at all, but it is. And it comes out. It's an extension lead, and it goes to about 20 metres long. So you can take your dog out for a walk, and he can run on ahead of you, and you've still got control over him. And it's very good for teaching him to come back when his name's called. Of course, all dogs should have a collar, but they should also have a name tag attached to the collar. I've got one down here. When you buy the tag, you can get it engraved, have your name and address and telephone number put on. And then if your dog does get out by accident and he's lost, when someone finds him, they'll know who to contact to let you know that he's quite safe. It takes lots of time to train a dog to do all the things that you'd like him to do, and you've got to be very, very patient. Dogs don't understand instantly when you say sit. You've got to show them gently how to do it. And as soon as they get it right, give them lots and lots of praise and lots of rewards, doggy chocks or doggy chews or whatever their favourite thing is, just a little bit each time when he does it right. When he does it wrong, don't be nasty and don't hit him. Just tell him in a stern voice that that's not right, and don't give him his special treat. Lots and lots of exercise is important, and he wants you to be with him. Don't ever let your dog just run out on the streets. It's very, very dangerous. You take him out 2 and 3 times a day for a good long walk. When you're training him not to make a mess in the house, that takes time too. You've got to be very patient. He's only a baby, and he really needs to be shown very, very clearly what you want him to do. Every time he's had his dinner, you pick him up and take him out into the garden. And when he goes to the toilet, you tell him what a good boy he was and how smashing he is. Then, when he does it wrong, if he does it wrong in the house, you tell him again in a stern voice that that's not right, and show him outside. Take him out into the garden and show him the proper place. If he's going to be locked in for any length of time on his own, which really very small puppies shouldn't be because they fret and they get anxious, then you can get a special liquid that you put onto newspaper, and you can put this near the door and the newspaper on the floor, drop these little drops of liquid onto the floor, and your dog should then go and use the paper as a toilet. But really, this is only a very poor alternative. You should be there every time he needs to go out, because when he's young, he needs to do it an awful lot. There are lots and lots and lots of toys you can get for your dog, millions of them in the pet shop, but you don't need to spend lots of money. You can give them rubber bones, and you can even give them old slippers and things. Dogs are very, very notorious for chewing, and they'll get your dad's slippers if they've got half the chance. So if there's an old slipper about and you let him know that it is his very special toy, then that's okay. Young puppies need to exercise their jaws a lot and keep their teeth in good condition, because they soon lose their baby teeth, like we do, and get big teeth. So give them lots of bones to chew, but not ever chicken bones or turkey bones, because they split and they can choke your dog. It's really good big meaty bones that they like. Don't need to leave a lot of meat on, but it's quite nice for them to chew for an awful long time. As big a variety of food as possible is very, very important, and always, always fresh water and plenty of it. Now I'll tell you a story. It's about a dog, not a pet dog though. This dog worked for his living. Some dogs do, you know. Anyway, to the story. Once upon a time, there was a shepherd called John, who lived in a little house near the foot of a mountain. He had 100 sheep to look after. They lived in fields at the bottom of the mountain, and to help him look after the sheep, he had a dog called Scamp. Scamp was a sheepdog, and his job was to collect the sheep together in the evening and hustle them into a paddock near the shepherd's little house. Also, if any of the sheep strayed up the mountain, Scamp could follow its scent, and John could follow Scamp and bring the sheep back. One day, the sun began to set, and Scamp brought the sheep back into the paddock, but when they were all in, John saw that there was one missing. Scamp went off to look for it, and very soon John heard a barking from the mountainside. That meant that Scamp had found the sheep, but for some reason couldn't bring it back to the paddock. John picked up his crook, that's a special shepherd's stick, and set out to find Scamp. It was easy for him to find the dog because he kept barking all the time. But when he got to the dog, he saw that the sheep had slipped down between some rocks, and the only way for John to get it back was for him to climb down after it. John climbed very carefully down to the ledge where the sheep was. Then he picked up the animal and started to make his way up the crag again. It was more difficult getting back, especially as the sheep started to struggle, and it was very heavy. I expect it was frightened, but it made it difficult for John to climb. Just then, as he'd got to the top of the crag, the sheep gave a wiggle and a leap and landed at the top, but John lost his footing and fell all the way down the ledge. He hurt his leg badly, and when he tried to stand, he realised that he must have broken his leg. "I can't move," he shouted to Scamp, who was waiting at the top of the crag. "You'll have to go and get help. Good boy, fetch help." Scamp gave a bark and ran off. Where do you think he went? Well, you probably won't believe me, but he ran straight down the mountainside, past the shepherd's house, and on to the village. Then he ran straight into the police station. Because, you see, if you need help badly, the best thing is to go to the police, because they'll always help you, and Scamp knew this. He went up to the sergeant, but of course, dogs can't talk. So he looked at the sergeant in the eye, and then he whimpered very gently, and he got hold of the sergeant's trouser leg in his teeth and tried to pull the sergeant out of the door. "Hey, steady on," said the sergeant. "Why, Bill," he said to the other policeman, "isn't this Scamp, John the shepherd's dog? He seems to want me to go with him. Perhaps something's happened to John." Scamp ran to the door and barked. "That's it," said the policeman. "He wants us to go with him. Come on, Sarge, we'd better be off." Well, that's really the end of the story. Because Scamp led the policeman to where poor John was lying and saw that he had a broken leg, and very soon they got John up to the top of the crag and they carried him down the hillside. They had to do it very carefully, so they got an old gate and made it work like a stretcher, and they took him all the way down to the hospital, where he would be looked after by the doctors and the nurses. Meantime, a nearby farmer took charge of John's sheep, and Scamp carried on with his work until John was better. Well, that's all for this series. I hope I can be with you again very, very soon. Bye-bye for now.